Well, a lot's going on. I just wanted to reiterate some very important points. Cashiers have got to quit handling money with their bare hands and then handing you stuff. The people in front of you could be contaminated. Everything they touch is considered contaminated. Every doorknob, every dollar bill, everything they touch is considered contaminated. Now, when you're a cashier, you're literally shaking hands like a politician with hundreds of people. You're taking stuff directly from their hands into your hands. Why wouldn't you want to protect yourself? Why wouldn't you do that? Why isn't the president commenting? Why aren't they giving us guidance? So the plan to control this epidemic, pandemic, viral nightmare is stupidity at its greatest, or there's something else at work and at play here. One thing that may make some of you kind of happy when you look at what happened with the smallpox epidemic, that took out a lot of kings and queens and rulers. So I think we should lock everybody in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, in the same building for 3 days and then let them out. So nobody's immune from viruses, it would appear, but who knows what kind of technologies they developed that selectively avoid certain blood types, or, and how many of these reports are actually valid or made up. You could stage anything to enact a law. Just look what's happened in our recent past. Events have led to stricter laws, stricter compliance, loss of freedoms, the shredding of the Constitution, and many other adverse things that have happened to us. And that's a far cry from what we used to say. We used to say about those little guys that call themselves terrorists. We used to say that if they create fear and we stop doing what we do in our way of lives, then they win. They've won. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to disrupt our lives. They're trying to make it harder on us to just have a normal life. So when government plays into that now, that's the new policy, is to pass laws out of fear and to take away rights of people who haven't done anything wrong. If that's their goal as terrorists, then they have won. They did win. And guess who the accessories are? So I'm very, very perturbed about the way this is all being handled at the top. Universal testing is being scoffed at, and there's some countries who have done universal testings. They developed their own tests because they're tired of waiting on us and other countries. But uniform testing needs to be done, and those that are negative need to go to work. Those that are positive need to stay home. And then you need to be tested like every 3 days or every 5 days. But this testing is the only way you're going to be able to isolate the right people. And it does no good to have little hubs where everybody goes to, like grocery stores. So I guess Home Depot is considered an essential store. Grocery stores are essential stores that are going to stay open, but it doesn't mean that they're going to get less traffic. A lot of the traffic came and bought everything up. so people don't have to go back to the store, because some people apparently get it better than the government. They don't want to go back into a grocery store, so they bought 1 to 2 months, 3 months supply of necessities, so they don't ever have to go back. But yet your government wants you to go back, and there is no mandate that cashiers wear gloves. The most pathetic thing you can do is put a poor cashier behind a cash register, run by 100 people that they've never met before who could be sick, and have them hand the cashier money. Money is one of the most dirtiest things that you could pass from one individual to the next. Why? Hands. This leads to the next segment of this video. Hand contact is the number one, the primary way that you pass infections from one person to another. Airborne aerosols, in really tight quarters like elevators, packed places are virtually airborne is waiting to happen. But just walking around in a place does not expose you to airborne generally. But this virus could be different because of the static charge on it, and because if it dries out, it could be very light and easily be pushed into the air. And because of that static charge, it will cling to you. It'll cling to your clothes, your hair, and then you will be touching yourself all over, fixing your shirt, fixing your dress, fixing your hair, and then your nose itches, and what do? You scratch your nose. So hand contact is the primary way that any infection gets spread. And let's take a known hand contact pathogen that we know is not airborne, and let's look at the stomach flu. The stomach flu is virus, and its DNA resembles that of your digestive tract. So that's why when you eat it or swallow it, you don't get it in your respiratory tract. You don't get it anywhere but your digestive tract, because its DNA more closely matches the digestive tract. That mechanism, that stomach flu, is very, very contagious, and none of it's airborne. So stop and think about how many times you've seen people get the stomach flu, and how many times people in the same family get the stomach flu 2 days, 3 days apart. Think of how rampant it goes through care centers and nursing homes, where one day you'll have 2 people with diarrhea, and then the next day you'll have 6 people with diarrhea, and the final day you'll have everybody sick. And what a mess. And all of that, every single transmission is done by hand contact. Fecal contamination. Oh, yuck. Who contaminated you? Who contaminated you with their fecal contamination? And how many people passed along somebody else's fecal contamination? So, good hand washing, just rubbing soap on your hands and then rinsing it off. Soap is not bleach. And even bleach, you still got to have a prolonged exposure for 30 seconds to a minute for bleach to really do a job on a virus. So when I see, and I know other people are seeing this, and I've heard people finally start to comment on this, being interviewed on the PBS, because I really try not to watch mainstream anything. And on PBS, a guy was saying, I don't understand the need for masks when 100 infected people grabbed that doorknob and you grabbed it with your bare hands. How does wearing a mask keep you from transmitting the most common way to transmit? So gloves and hand washing have to be triple emphasized. It's got, the masks are important. It's nice to have a mask. And masks are really important if you are sick, and it keeps you from getting other people sick. But I mean, well, you notice a lot of pictures I've showed you, people wearing masks. I probably showed you hundreds and hundreds of people wearing masks. Well, if the National Health Organization, or the National Institute of Health, the World Health Organization, and every single nursing school and medical school on the planet will tell you the number one mode of transmission of almost all disease is hand contact. That's the number one mode. So when you see 1,000 people before you during a pandemic, and all of them are wearing masks and none of them are wearing gloves, then you see we have a problem. And don't get me wrong, you can wear gloves and transfer viruses right back to yourself. They'll collect on your gloves. You can grab stuff with contaminated gloves and contaminate other things. But what gloves do is they keep you from touching your face, and they keep you mindful of where you're at and what you're doing. I don't touch my face near as much with gloves on, but you get a scratch, an itch, on your nose. Sometimes your hands go right to your face or even your eyes. And so the thing about gloves is you can use the hand sanitizers over and over and over again. It almost encourages you to use them every 5 minutes, the hand sanitizer, because it's not going to trash the skin on your hands because it's protected by the gloves. And another thing too that the gloves do is when you take them off, you turn them inside out. You put your thumb or a finger underneath the wrist part and you peel it off, and when it comes off your hands, it's inside out. So when you take it off, it contains the virus better than if you didn't do that, okay? So that's an improvement. And if somebody comes in contact with the gloves, they're not contacting the external surface, they're contacting the internal surface. And if you're clean, then there's not a problem. Now, we're going to put out a music video. It's just background music on a video, so we can go live on a premiere and we can answer your questions about this virus. I'm hearing and reading all kinds of different things. I have opinions that they may not conform to your opinions, but your opinions matter. And in fact, a lot of this new information I get and the new leads I get on the coronavirus come from you. So somebody mentioned the word decerebrate in a thread, and I haven't got off of it. Somebody talked about ionized silver spray on a thread, and I was concerned about the silver nitrate or the silver chloride that forms in the stomach. The silver chloride, that is. Silver nitrate is actually medicinal, but I was worried about that. But even though they were spraying it in the nose, and I'm like, what the heck are you thinking, doughhead? This person's going to spray it in their nose. They're not going to drink this stuff. So now on 2 or 3 different videos, I keep mentioning that ionized silver in the nose is okay. The only problem is you can't gauge and predict what your blood levels are. They going to be therapeutic? But as far as killing stuff that's actually in your nose, breeding or incubating, go for that. Yes, absolutely. So the hand thing has got to be, it's huge. And when it doesn't do any good to have everybody stay at home, even the people who don't need to, okay, and then tell them all to congregate at a grocery store where hand contact is the last of anybody's problems, the least of anybody's concerns. And they're worried about 6 foot this and you can be 30 feet behind somebody, but if you touch the same thing they touch, it ain't going to matter if they're 100 feet away from you. So this is really concerning me. It's upsetting me that there's not this emphasis on hand contact. And finally, I'm just going to say, as a medical professional, uniform testing, universal testing is a good thing. I don't know why people say it's a bad thing. I don't know why they talk it down. To me, that's irresponsible and dangerous, but I really think they just don't have enough test kits to test everybody. So, we come out with a do-it-yourself at home test, I hope. But, identifying the carriers is how you're going to stop this thing. Because once you present with symptoms, you're in isolation. You cough in public, man, people pull out their sledgehammers and start swinging at you now. So it's important that we totally understand that hand contact is a huge thing. And so when you have a letter come to you and it's been in a mail room in contact with 1,000 different letters, who's been in contact with 1,000 different hands, your letter, is floating in a potential, high risk area, comes to your mailbox, you reach in and grab it with your bare hands. So when you see people wearing biochemical suits, when you see them wearing the same stuff you would wear during a biochemical attack, and they got suits on and you don't, then I think reaching in your mailbox for the mail with bare hands is a risky behavior. Now, I'm sending product out from where I live. In the county I live, there is 0 confirmed cases still. And already I'm spraying door handles. I'm wearing gloves when I go in to do shopping. And I'm trying the one glove on the right hand kind of a thing, but that's better than nothing. But I'm trying to use the right hand to grab everything, to grab the products, to grab the door handles. And then I just take it home and wipe down the groceries, or I actually spray them down with, the external packaging with Lysol and let that sit there for 15 minutes before I start handling them with my bare hands. I mean, that's a practice we all need to start getting into. Now, we're going to do a show. It's going to be a 1-hour show on Sunday, and then it's going to be a 30-minute follow-up show on Monday. The computer thing was very weird, but it just knocked us off track for a day or two. And I'm actually going to be moving a lot of Kimber Touch technology stuff into my place up here in the middle of absolute nowhere. But there is a little tiny post office, and I'm surprised that there's anybody there working. And so everything that Kimber Touch mails out is going to come from a low risk area. The liposomal C was coming from Pasadena, so we're making our own because we have product that we can actually verify where it's come from. We're doing things like leaving everything that you don't absolutely need inside the envelope out of the envelope, and sterilizing everything going into the envelope. But those external envelopes, those that end up in your mailbox, those should be sprayed with Lysol. Even if it smears the address, so what? If it gets to where it's got to be going, you're going to throw the envelope away anyway. Spray the damn envelope with Lysol. I know somebody who's very high risk. They're having somebody with gloves and a mask grab their mail and set it on a vinyl couch that sits in the sun, and all mail and all packages sit outside for 3 full days before they'll go out and even mess with it. But they're very high risk. So I cannot emphasize the hand contact thing. There are so many digestive disorders that are bacterial, viral, parasitic, that the only way you get them is through hand contact. So that's kind of gross to get a stomach flu because it's somebody's hands that gave it to you. So then food services becomes a real huge issue, and handling money, which is probably the most dirtiest thing on the planet you can handle. Handling money, every place needs to have a policy, and you need to just, I don't bite the bullet if you catch somebody bagging your groceries and making change with the same hands. Do believe that when you use a hand sanitizer, it doesn't kill viruses on contact. You really do have to rub and scrub and create friction, and in a detergent fashion, remove the protein or the polysaccharide shell that's on these viruses. So it's crazy that you would not universally test everybody, but universally quarantine everybody. To me, in this country, that shouldn't be flying. And there really is, testing is the cornerstone of medicine. So why would you want to test somebody that already has symptoms? Because you already know they're going to be in isolation. So you don't need to test them just to see if they need isolation. Hell, we got millions of people right now that are completely healthy and are not allowed to leave their homes. So nothing's making sense. The 1 + 1 does not equal 3. It's supposed to equal 2. And so when somebody jumps over 2 to get to 3, you're wondering what's wrong with 2. Why aren't you demanding universal testing? Why are you saying you need to stay in, but yet everybody on the planet can go to their local grocery store and congregate there, as if the quarantine then meant anything at all at that time? And if you get sick there, it's going to be 99% of the time, and maybe not that high, 90% of the time, it's going to be a hand contact transmission that gets you sick. So, and you need to be told that. You need to be made aware of that. And, somebody needs to be emphasizing that especially. So until next time, be prepared, not scared.